Director of International Education and Programs here at ECC. I'm also the Administrative Co-Chair to the Global International Studies Task Force, which is one of the committees that is co-sponsoring this event. I'm pleased to welcome you to the inaugural presentation, Strange Bedfellows, a close look at Russian-U.S. relations, of the William Pelz Global Speaker Series. This event is co-sponsored by ECFA, Magic, and GIST, and it's an opportunity for us as an ECC community to discuss the state of global affairs and further our understanding on some current global issues. So before we introduce our speakers today, I want to tell you a little bit about Professor Pelz, in whose honor this series is named. First, I would like to recognize Dr. Adrienne Butler, who is Dr. Pelz's wife, who's here in attendance, and her mother, Florence Butler. So thank you very much for attending. Was known by many of us. I know there's many of you here who were dear friends of his. He went by Bill. He was a well-known progressive activist and a prolific scholar in his field of European and comparative studies. He was born into a working-class family on the south side of Chicago. He graduated with a master's degree from Miami of Ohio University and earned his history PhD at Northern Illinois University. For the last 20 years of his life, before his untimely death in December of 2017, Bill was a popular faculty member at ECC. On a personal note, he was a strong advocate of study abroad, and any time that we wanted to advocate for study abroad programs, he was one of the first faculty members that responded to my email to say, yes, come and tell my students about your programs. He was such a strong proponent. He participated in many activities on campus and was the faculty advisor to the Union of Politically Active Students and the Peace and Justice Committee. He was a devoted student of Soviet and Russian history his entire life, collecting memorabilia, books, and other worthy and not so worthy objects related to Russia and Russian culture. He would often discuss Russian history and politics with Dr. DelGenio, Irina, one of our speakers, as well as with his colleagues and his students. This talk and this series is an attempt to honor his memory and those thought-provoking discussions we have had with Dr. Pelz over the years. Discussion is the first in a series of events for the William Pelz Global Speaker Series. And I'm pleased to introduce to you today our two speakers, Dr. Irina DelGenio and Mr. John Schwartz. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, just briefly. So Irina's interest in U.S.-Russian relations goes back to 1995, when she attempted to create the first American Studies program and American Studies Center at Ural Federal University in the post-Soviet Russia. It is there that she understood the irony and the power of fake news, cliches, and generalizations. Ever since then, she's been trying to build bridges between our two nations. She is hopeful that someday Russians and Americans will move beyond corrupt politicians, media, money, geography, and all the other things that separate our great nations, and start paying attention to the bigger things that unite all of us. Dr. DelGenio. Mr. John Schwartz, here on my right, was 17 when he read the book Nicholas and Alexandra, and became a lifelong student of Russian history, culture, and especially the language. After completing his AAS at ECC in 1973, he studied Russian formally and informally as he went on to complete his MA in German at American University in DC in 1977. For the next 34 years, he's worked as an analyst at the Defense Department and taught Russian to U.S. military personnel in the UK and in Germany. Since 2005, he has been sharing his love for the Russian language at ECC. Please welcome our speakers for today's presentation.
Добро пожаловать. Welcome to the first event of the Global Speaker Series at ECC. I I'm gonna hold this mic because that's what a little bit I'm used to it. And John is gonna use wireless connection. Can everyone hear me and can everyone see the slides? Yeah? Okay. Well, this is a sad and incredibly happy event. First of all, I would love Bill to be here and see where we are today, because unlike U.S.-Russian relations that are at the lowest point since the Cold War, our relations and relationships in ECC community and Elgin community and between Russian and Americans, I think, are as strong as ever. You know, yesterday I was going through emails that Bill sent me over the years, and I responded, and I was just a little bit, I was tearing a little bit, but most of the time I was going through these emails, I was smiling and laughing. Just, from December 5th, his email to me. Hi Irina, I haven't gotten the assessment form we were going to send both of us. Maybe Putin hackers intercepted it? Thanks, Bill. So you knew that Bill was a dedicated student of Russian history, and that's where we are today. To be students of Russian history, Russian and American history, maybe ask some hard questions. I encourage you to ask questions. We're going to allow for about half an hour, 40 minutes just for questions. And I can tell you that this is going to be impartial. We are not defending or we are not supporting any particular kind of view, any point of view, but we are trying to figure out how did we get to this point. And now I'm gonna give it to John. So we didn't want to lecture at you. We didn't want to do what our governments do, lecturing at each other and telling each other what to do and what to say. We're not gonna do that. So what we are going to do, try to look at the past and see where it can take us. So we're gonna start.
Okay, добро пожаловать от меня. So welcome from me. And we thought we'd start right off the bat with our flags. Okay? As you see up here, I'll use my pointer for a second. Of course, we all know our history, and we know our national emblem, the eagle. But maybe not all of us know the history of the Russian ones. The Russian flag, this is an interesting... You may know something about Peter the Great, and he actually was quite great. He was very tall, and he traveled around Europe to learn European modern Western ways, and he liked the Dutch flag so much that he adopted it for Russia, the same pattern. I mean, that's what he wanted, okay? So that's the Russian flag that reappeared, if you remember, Christmas Day, 1991. Early in the morning, as we were coming back from Christmas church or something, and we heard Mikhail Gorbachev on the television saying, well, we had a great run. It was 74 years, but it's over. And we watched the flag come down, the Soviet Union, and up went the flag of Russia at the top. Incredible moment, especially for those of us in the DoD or in the U.S. government, spent our whole careers working on that issue. But the more interesting and older by far is the Russian double-headed eagle. And where does this come from? The double-headed eagle actually comes from Byzantium, Constantinople, or nowadays Istanbul. The double-headed eagle is usually the symbol of empire. And among the Russians, they will tell you that there was the first capital of Christendom, Rome. Okay? Second capital, Constantinople. And when Constantinople fell to the Turks in 1453, it became Moscow. And as the Russians say, there will not be a fourth capital.
Moscow is the third Rome. There will never be the fourth Rome. That's what Russians say.
It's like a piece of their ideology. But it really first appears as far back as 1472. That's where we get the double-headed eagle. And this was the symbol of the dynasty of the Romans. But it is now, again, the Russian. With some slight changes, it's the Russian national.
So you see the colors are similar. You see the eagles on both emblems, but the Russian one it's double-headed eagle. If one head looks at the west and one head looks at the east, so watch out.
We like to think Russia is like a peripheral country of Europe, just like the United States. We both took our predominant culture from Europe. Russia's on the east side, we're on the west side. Russia looks at Europe, it also looks at Asia. And lately, increasingly so, because relations with the West are so tense. They see China as perhaps their reserve, and their future hope. Okay? So moving right along from the flags, this dour-looking man actually was our first ambassador to the Russian court. So he was there from 1809 to 1814. It's a pretty long run for ambassadors. Okay? He was an incredibly gifted man, John Quincy Adams, also later president. He spoke multiple languages. He was there as a teenager, and later came back as ambassador. And he had an incredible rapport with Tsar Alexander I. Why? Because Alexander and his wife lost their 2 children. Children died very, often in those days. He had one son who was like 2.5 years old. The Tsar and his wife adored his kids, his child. And that brought them together. Even though John Quincy, kind of like the picture, was not known as an incredibly humorous man. He was actually a very effective ambassador while he was there. So that was kind of the beginning of a good century of relations between the United States and Russia. I mean, really continued on a pretty good note from there on. But
until a certain point.
Until a certain point in the previous century. Okay. In fact, moving along. But this is something going to be new to all of you. In 1863, the Russians sent fleets both to San Francisco and New York. In the middle of the Civil War, they show up in New York and in San Francisco. And some of the background the stories are that the Russian fleet offered to protect San Francisco against Confederate raiding ships. It went that far. Technically, they were neutral. Russia was neutral. And the background, so that you know, Russia, this is something we wanted to say, something that sadly united us both. Until 1861, both countries had slavery. Okay? In Russia, it's called serfdom. Here, it's slavery. Okay? 1861, Tsar Alexander II ends serfdom. They had been discussing it for a long time, but he actually did it. 1862, after Antietam, Emancipation Proclamation. Okay? You could say there were problems with both of those things in the follow-up, but it still happened. So here's Russia and America being close. But Russia had another problem. It had, because you'll know, maybe you remember that Poland had been broken up, actually split up 3 times until it wasn't a Poland. The Polish people were never really thrilled with that, their country disappearing. So they revolted repeatedly, and there was another revolt in 1863. Almost strangely like today, the British and the French favored the Polish people, and the Russians were afraid there would be another war. So they got their fleets out of Russian waters by sending them to New York and San Francisco. Yeah, and they stayed for months in the United States. Okay?
What was most incredibly sad to me that both of these men who freed American serfs, Lincoln and Alexander II, who freed the Russian serfs, they both were assassinated. Sometimes I make this joke. I said, if you are incredibly brutal dictator like Stalin or Hitler, it's probably very little chance that you're going to be assassinated during your lifetime. But if you're liberal, ruler like those two, you're probably going to be assassinated. Isn't that an irony? And how that happens?
Well, to make a big leap into the 20th century, we remained good friends with Russia, even to the point in 1904 and 1905, Theodore Roosevelt mediated peace between Russia and Japan. It's called the Treaty of Portsmouth. Incredibly enough, it was done here. Okay, and the only real problem was at the end of the First World War. Of course, there was a revolution in Russia. The U.S. had been neutral. The U.S. came in on the Allied side. Afterwards, we occupied both in Murmansk and especially in Vladivostok to protect some munitions that we'd given to Russia to fight the Germans, but it was going to involve the communists, so we didn't want that. But we also didn't actually have relations with Russia until 1933. And then comes World War II, and we end up as allies. Here's one of the last pictures of happy allies sitting together.
Happy trio. Only one gonna remain very soon, and that one gonna continue to smile until his fall in 1953, where he would be laying on the floor, absolutely helpless, and nobody would come to his aid because they were all afraid to touch him. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, right?
There's a film about it right now called The Death of Stalin, and you'll find it interesting and probably close to the truth.
That film is actually banned in Russia, so you can only see it here. I'm gonna see it. I don't know whether I'm gonna like it or not, but I'm gonna see it.
Okay. One thing to remember, in World War II, we gave the Soviet Union, $11 billion in aid. That was called the Lend-Lease program. We were giving it to Britain as well, but we gave a lot to the Soviet Union, a lot of trucks, especially planes. Okay, it was a wonderful thing, but just remember, it was the Soviet army that really ripped the guts out of the Wehrmacht. And it was Russian lives that they gave. We gave them trucks, and they gave lives, and millions.
Yeah. Over 20 million lives estimated were lost on the Russian side during World War II. And you know, it's always surprised me when I was talking during my trips in the 90s, when we were talking to my US counterparts and my colleagues, and they would tell me, well, we won the war. I said, excuse me? And I said, we won the war, it's D-Day and everything. I said, well, if Hitler wouldn't be so busy on the Eastern Front with so heavy losses that Hitler army embraced on the Eastern Front, I don't know how things would turn out. But, you know, let's leave it to historians to decide.
Okay. Just remember, too, that in World War II, we were allies, but Stalin was very interested that we open a second front, and a lot sooner than we did in 1944. He was open for a year earlier. From the Soviet point of view, it looked like we and the British were waiting for the two totalitarian countries to exhaust themselves, and then we'd come in and pick up the pieces, okay? But it didn't quite work out that way. So the war ends, and very quickly it became clear that the Soviet Union intended to establish this buffer cordon across Europe. And by 1946, Winston Churchill was down in our neighbor state in Fulton, Missouri, and gave his Iron Curtain speech. So we begin to see the Cold War is falling onto us slowly. We had things like the Berlin blockade, and then, of course, all these spy businesses like the Rosenbergs and stuff. Then we had the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes. If you know, I haven't seen the show Americans, and I know that it's already ended, but I'm gonna binge watch it. But if you watch it, you're probably gonna understand and feel the tensions that were during the Cold War between our two countries. You know, the truth behind this, behind the Cold War, I was born and raised in the Soviet Union, and I can tell you that we were so afraid of the U.S. bombing us. And so we did all these exercises, stupid exercise where you duck and try to go under the table. And I was in 7th grade or 8th grade going through this exercise, mindless, useless exercise. And I had the audacity to ask my teacher. I said, excuse me, teacher, what good, if you tell us that the nuclear bomb is going to be so powerful as you tell us it's going to be, what good does it do to just duck under the table? We're going to be eviscerated in any case. He looked at me and he said, detention.
Yeah, one of my favorite Russian instructors told us the story when the topic came up, very hot topic in the 1980s, when there was again a threat of war. And she told us with her wonderful accent, she said, you boys, listen to me. You are part of this civil defense. Well, she said, Russian people came up with their own story of what is civil defense. In case of threat of nuclear war, walk calmly to your home. Find a good white sheet. Leave your home calmly and walk to nearest cemetery. Put sheet over you. This is our civil defense. So they knew that it was silly. The whole thing was silly. Yeah. But we had shelters here, and I remember when she was a kid.
Yeah. So on this picture, you see two smiling leaders, and those leaders are Prime Minister Khrushchev, Sergei Khrushchev, on the left with his round, little farmer boy face, and on the right is full of energy, very handsome JFK. And my first introduction to the American cinema happened in 1995 when I first came to the United States on a trip, and someone mentioned to me this film, this movie, Dr. Strangelove. And if you can just go to the next one. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. And you know what, at first I was thinking, someone is just going to make this, joke of me. How you can stop worrying and love the bomb? And then I watched the movie once, 2 times, 3 times, and I was like, okay, I get it now. So we could not just stop ourselves from including one little piece from the movie, which is a Russian president after one of the planes are going, bomb Russia or Soviet Union. One of the generals directed planes to do so, and they were able to stop all but one plane. And so American president, just like in the Cold War, we established a hotline established between 2 nations, and actually it was first time happening, right? So he is going to call a Russian premier. Let's just, with that we didn't show, we didn't do the quality control. Didn't do the quality control here. This is okay. On the piano. On the piano, right? Okay. Can we go back?
Good.
Sorry about
Well, it's good that you're fine and I'm fine. I agree with you. It's great to be fine. Fine. Now then, Dimitri.
Okay. Sorry for our little...
Hello? Hello there.
Here we go.
Hello? Hello, Dimitri. Listen, I can't hear too well. Do you suppose you could turn the music down just a little? Oh, that's much better. Yes. Fine, I can hear you now, Dmitri. Clear and plain and coming through fine. I'm coming through fine too, eh? Good, then. Well, then, as you say, we're both coming through fine. Good. Well, it's good that you're fine and I'm fine. I agree with you. It's great to be fine. Now then, Dmitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dmitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is, one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head. You know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country. Well, let me finish, Dmitri. Let me finish, Dmitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel about it? Can you imagine how I feel about it, Dmitri? Why do you think I'm calling you? Just to say hello? Of course I like to speak to you. Of course I like to say hello. Not now, but any time, Dmitri. I'm just calling up to tell you something terrible has happened. It's a friendly call. Of course it's a friendly call. Listen, if it wasn't friendly, you probably wouldn't have even got
it. So this is an amazing movie. And it's, you know, when I watch it today, and I watch it, I can tell you, every year I go back and I watch it. Because to me, the irony of what was done during the Cold War and how close, absolutely, I'm not speaking to the microphone. I have this loud teacher voice, right? So the irony, how close we came to the brink of the nuclear war is not lost on me or anyone who lived through this time or parents, grandparents lived through this time. And again, you know, the irony, why we are today, why we are coming back to this nonsense.
Oh, okay.
All right, I think we have to do,
Okay. Yeah, this is the background. One other little thing there. That was very effective in the movie, but remember the actual hotline, which exists? In fact, people were pushing for it for a long time. We got it after Cuban Missile Crisis. But it is never spoken. It's only email. Now it's email. It was like teletype or something. Because they were afraid that there could be misinterpretation. Like, he's funny in the head. What would that mean to Russia? It's not properly interpreted. Okay? This was the situation for many years that we faced. Here was the Soviet Union and its allies, the Warsaw Pact. There was Poland, East Germany, remember them. Czechoslovakia, they don't exist. They don't exist. Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and all the Western countries, from Turkey to Norway. That was what the situation was for the longest time. Then things changed. If you all remember, 1986, we had a number of dying general secretaries of the Communist Party.
Let me intercept here. When I was a student, when the general secretary of the Communist Party dies in Soviet Union, on all three channels, there we had three channels, okay? All three channels gonna show simultaneously a Swan Lake. Don't ask me why there is showing Swan Lake. I don't know the answer. Maybe because it's the last song of the swan or whatever they were, what was the reasoning behind it. I never could understand. But when it was just in my second year of my university Junior College, they started to show Swan Lake, and we were like, we were crying because there was Brezhnev. He was frail and senile, he was just not very good. He couldn't move. He was like a walking corpse, like zombie. But we were crying because we knew it's the whole 30 years went by with this man, right? But a few months later, they started to show Swan Lake again. And like, okay, well, this is Andropov died. Andropov died because they were hiding. Andropov looked fine, but they were hiding that he had a kidney failure and some seniors very serious health conditions. So we were like, okay, that's not good, but we're okay. When in a few months, there was another Swan Lake on all the screens, we were laughing. Like, how bad can it get? Get your act together, okay? And they did. And so we saw Gorbachev, and Gorbachev was everything you could wish in a leader. He was, young, 54. He was not drinking, which was like amazing, right? He was a good family man. He spoke without any prompt. We were all very happy. And when he started the policies of perestroika and glasnost and openness and all that, everyone was beyond excited. But very soon, it's become very clear that things are not going as planned. Over there sits my daughter, who I had in Gotik means little kitten in Russian. So in 1987, I had her, and I was a young, very nervous mother, and I didn't know what I was doing, and there was no baby formula. Not only it was no products, there was no food in grocery stores, right? There was no baby formula. That's how bad things turned. And that's why, sometimes Americans ask me, why you guys don't like Gorbachev? Because in the eyes of the Soviet people or Russian people, Gorbachev committed one of the worst crimes he could commit. He was, as we call it in Russia, Baltun. Baltun means the man who uses flowery speech but actually doesn't do anything in practice. So in the words of Russians, in the eyes of Russian, Gorbachev is a Baltun, the guy who couldn't get his act together and get the economy working. It's much more complicated than that. Here is interesting, I went not so long ago to this wonderful play in Goodman Theatre called Blind Date. This is about first meeting between Gorbachev and Reagan, a famous meeting.
So in that meeting, at that time, they actually came very close to getting rid of all nuclear weapons. They realized they didn't agree in Reykjavik, but they understood each other and that there was actually progress to be made. And within a year, we had the agreement on the intermediate nuclear missiles. That liquidated a whole class of missiles. They had brought them in aiming at Western Europe, the Soviet time. We then put the Persian IIs in to counter them. And now, just a few years later, they're gone. And the only place you can see one of these missiles is if you go to Washington, to the Air and Space Museum, there is an RSD-10, the RSD-10, which is their intermediate missile, next to our Persian. And that's the only place they exist to this day. And then things began to, as Irina said, began to fall apart. Everybody was on ration coupons for everything, and still Gorbachev was democratizing the system. Many people were unhappy.
Gorbachev is a die-hard communist, idealistic man who really wanted to improve communism. But it's like you cannot be a little bit pregnant if you want to improve something and you go one way everything crumbles, and there was nothing to replace it with. So a lot of people were unhappy, and a lot of people had nostalgia for the Soviet Union. And it came to the point, to the boiling point, where Gorbachev was actually, there was a coup from, communists, die-hard old communists, they were all like over 70s, but they wanted to return the country to the order, law and order, law and order. So Gorbachev was seized, and he was, at the point, he was in Crimea, in Faros, which is very close to where I was at the time. I was in Crimea in archaeological expedition and spending my summer time excavating the Roman ruins, right? And Crimea was, of course, Russian at the time, Soviet Union. And I just was, like one day I woke up and I see all these military ships, like, just in line. And I'm asking and I'm listening to the radio because there was no TV, listening to the radio, and I'm listening to, there is a coup, we're gonna respect all kinds of stuff. And I realized that I have to go through Moscow back to Yekaterinburg, but the next day, what we're gonna do in Moscow, there is a coup. And my friends were like, oh, we'll just go visit Gorbachev in Florence. It's so, it's so close. And he probably would want to see us there now, things like that. But the coup, I give it to you.
Okay. Up here, you may remember the coup. These guys came out on the stage. The leader of the coup was this man Yanayev, who was apparently an alcoholic and drinking while this was happening. And he was shaking. You could actually see him shaking. So it was a kind of a pathetic group of people. In the meantime, a very brave, and you have to say it, Boris Yeltsin, who was president of the Russian Federation already, okay, he came out.
He was from my city.
And this is what they call in Russian the White House, the Белый дом. It's actually the House of Government of the Russian Federation. It's like the Russian Federation Parliament. This building right on it. By the way, it's right on the Moscow River. It's only about a block from the U.S. Embassy. So he came out and bravely stood up on a tank. And here's his staff. That actually is the man who later wrote a book exposing Yeltsin. But all the same, this was a very brave moment. The people rallied to Yeltsin across the nation, but especially the center of power, which is Moscow only. And the coup collapsed. And these guys who organized the crisis, they just fell apart.
Yeah.
So this was a great moment in history.
So I can go back to Yekaterinburg through Moscow, no problem.
And it followed after that sort of the honeymoon with Russia, and it was a little bit more than a honeymoon. There was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Few years with Boris Yeltsin. However, Boris had to do some very important things, and at least in his rule, they had to privatize the economy. They had to do basically economic shock therapy, which was not fun for the Russian people. Even though we got along with our Bill Clinton.
This is a famous video where Boris Yeltsin, before his re-election, he's dancing on a stage. Some serious health problems, and Russians were still rallying behind him, because with him we were hoping that it's going to be something, some serious reforms and some fast things that things needed to happen fast. Unfortunately, like in every romance, it never fast. It's always years and years.
In fact, his prime minister at the time was a man named Victor Chernomyrdian. And Victor Chernomyrdian was famous for some of his sort of lame statements. He meant well, but it came out wrong. And one of my favorites is, хотелось как лучше, получилось как всегда. We tried to make it the best way possible, and it turned out the way it always does. So I think you understand. At the same time, I wanted to point out these are things that we're stuck with today. We have this concept, frozen conflicts. Now, the Soviet Union broke up, okay, in 1991. All of a sudden, 15 new countries appeared in the world. Okay, the Baltics, of course, okay, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, then we have Belarus, Ukraine becomes independent. All the countries of the Caucasus are independent. Moldova, this little country that now wants to be part of Romania, became independent. And then all across Central Asia. What happened? Considering that a huge empire collapsed overnight, actually, you have to say, there was actually rather little disorder and bloodshed. Considering we had problems in many of France had Algeria, the British had us, others. But there are still some problems. And especially, of course, we know these areas, Crimea and Ukraine.
Eastern Ukraine.
We're stuck with those to this day. But down here, we have a smoldering conflict, which just smoldered up a little bit this week. There's a conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and probably unsolvable, but the Russians are involved in that. They sell arms to both sides. Okay? Up here, Georgia, a U.S. ally, but they quickly, in the early 90s, lost 2 pieces of their country to Russian-sponsored activities of the locals. Okay? But the main one that we have to worry about, really, is the area in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk and Lugansk, and of course Crimea, which we don't recognize.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Crimea right now. I expect your questions after we go into the question section. But Crimea is a very difficult and very multi-sided conflict. And being in Crimea, I was in Crimea every summer since I was 18. Every summer I would go to archaeological expedition in Crimea Peninsula, and I can tell you that probably if you talk to local people, you're going to know more about Crimean conflict than any media can tell you. And it's a very, very difficult conflict. Difficult because there's so many sides to it, and every side considers itself right.
Okay, so the years go by, and in the late 90s, especially the countries of the Baltic, so Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, joined not only the EU, but NATO. Okay? Russia said, we don't really feel good about this. We basically told Russia, thank you for your opinions, now go away. Okay? That's how it was perceived. I'm not saying the U.S. government intended to distance, but it came off that way to the Russians. We also did something that they have not made peace with. You remember in 1999, we got involved in Serbia, in the conflict between Serbia and its province of Kosovo. Okay, now Kosovo is more or less independent, and then actually it was Putin who told us, if you do this, you're setting a precedent. And we said, oh no, it's not a precedent. We're taking a country apart and breaking a piece off, but it's not a precedent. Well, think about what happened in Crimea. But that was the problem of NATO expansion. Okay?
And it was actually promised by the US that it's not going to be a NATO expansion. It was, it's not only promised in words, it's actually documented that we're not going to push for NATO expansion. And now we are,
In 2007 in Munich, every year in February there's a security conference there. Putin came and he shocked all the West by really basically reading us the riot act and saying, you're doing things that are making us very angry. We're not mad at you yet. I mean, we don't have a Cold War, but this idea of the U.S. being the world hegemon is not acceptable. And another thing that the U.S. does, we put out and try to arrest people all over the world that break our laws. And they consider that, of course, also against international law. We do this all the time. Of course, the guarantees about non-NATO expansion, or at least not putting any troops there, they weren't pleased with that. And basically, Vladimir Vladimirovich told us that, Russia has a 1,000-year history. You have to respect us. We have our own ideas. We are not just doing what the U.S. wants.
And again, I don't want to talk about Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin at length, but you have to understand that after, a lot of what explains his enormous popularity with Russian people. Many things. He's not only popular, so 80% or around 80% of his, ratings, it's all true. Because I go to Russia every year, and I talk to people that I don't know, and talk to people that I know, and everywhere I go, they tell me, he is the man. Now, of course, a lot of it you have to consider. A lot of it is brainwashing, and one of the things is this great calendar that was gifted to me by John, and I went to some of the classes, and there is a lot of things to peruse. So if you want, I'll put it for your perusal. There is Putin on a horse, Putin at the judo, Putin on a motorcycle, Putin just looking at the sun, Putin not wearing a short, Putin with, I don't even know what it is, and that's my favorite. But you have to understand that the country that went through enormous, Russian history had never been peaceful, but during the last decade of 20th century, the country went through enormous sacrifices and enormous difficulties. And I can tell you that in majority of Russian people think this way. They just want order. They just want things to be, following the law, following the order, and they just want to be things to be peaceful for a while, so they can raise their families, they can do, they can have jobs and so on. And he is out of all, there is not much alternative, so he provides that peaceful, lawful, in their opinion, environment. That's probably explains some of his popularity. We're about to a few slides, and then we go into questions.
Yeah. The U.S. government did sort of give the picture, and we got it, that there was a problem with Russia. And of course, as you may remember, back in 2008, I guess it was, we did try to reboot the relationship. And Hillary Clinton even, she meant well, she even had the State Department, I'm sure, spent millions of dollars putting together the reboot button, okay? Unfortunately, one of their State Department translator, not one of my colleagues, I assure you, mistranslated reboot to overcharge. So it was you rarely see a smile on the face of Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia. But another interesting note, he's been in the job for a very long time. He knows everything, and he knows everyone. Ours change every okay? And so that's where it started.
I met him in New York when he was ambassador to the United States, Russian ambassador. Quite an interesting man.
Very tall guy.
Very tall.
And this pretty well says it all, I think. The problems that we have, and Putin is not a very tall man. And he keeps getting put up against very tall people, like Obama. If you ever see him with the president of Turkey, he towers over Putin, okay? One thing that happened, and probably maybe we should stop at this point. Any questions?
I think, we have like a couple more slides, right? And then we can, so we can go.
Now we're in Ukraine.
I wouldn't go there. Maybe we'll leave for questions because it's really it couldn't be that quick.
Okay. Then we have Syria, the present situation with Syria.
Yeah.
Russia has bases and has had bases in Syria for 30, 40 years. It's their only foreign bases. And they were out to protect Assad, keep him in power. And we really didn't know, I'm not really sure what our policy was, but we certainly didn't push it too hard, and then it became clear that our policy was to get ISIS, and Assad went to the side.
Another very complicated and complex problem in U.S. relationships, Syria. Now you also, this is what Russian citizens think. Not just politicians, but that's what Russian citizens think, because I talked to so many of them. They said, okay, we'll remove Assad. What's going to come in his place? Chaos. It's already happened to Libya. It already happened in Iraq. So it's going to be chaos. At least Assad is secular government. What's going to come instead of his government is going to be militants, religious Islamists, and militants. So it's going to be, and I'm sure there is Michael Shekhinah, who is from, and Nancy Shekhinah, who are from this region. I can probably tell you he's going to relate to that, right? To that notion. Okay. Here we come. This is so much to be said about Russian interference and hacking into U.S. elections and so on and so forth. But I allow John, who's been with the Department of Defense for many, many years, speak about this.
As far as the hacking, apparently they did it. And what are we going to do about it? We can't really strike back because then we give up what we can do. We have to bear it. However, let's remember, people have been doing this. Other countries do it. Everybody does it. Maybe we didn't need to make a big deal out of it. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The last use of the hotline was on election day 2016 when a message was sent to Moscow saying, don't even think about hacking the election results. Okay.
And on a positive note, we can talk more about hacking and all that. I have some interesting things to give you about that. But we wanted to finish on a positive note.
Just very quickly, we work very well with Russia and the other members, it's like 8 countries on the Arctic Council. These guys were concerned about global warming, the disappearance of the ice, transport across those areas, and environmental issues. So that's one place where we actually have a decent working relationship. And most importantly, we are still completely working with Russia as far as space. The only way our guys get up to the International Space Station is on Russian rockets. We don't have anything to send them there. And there are plans that are going way out, even including the moon and Mars with Russia. Still, they get along just fine up there. Okay? And remember, of course, these guys are being launched from Kazakhstan. Okay?
Where I was born, by the way.
Because at that point, we'll